Who are the rookies to watch out for? Were there any surprises in Summer League? Is the postgame disappearing? The only question left is, say it with me, you in? Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown Podcast. I am pleased to bring on the show friend of the breakdown, Mo Dakhil, who is a former video coordinator for the Spurs, Clippers, and Team Australia, and also runs the jumpball.net, even though it is the jumpball.net as well in my mind, but we'll call it what it is, the URL. So, Mo, thanks for coming on the show and talking Summer League.
No, thanks for having me, Coach Nick. I'm always happy. Anytime I get a message from you, I'm ready to go.
Well, the irony is we were both in Vegas for several days overlap and never even connected there or saw each other. It sounds like it was a fruitful trip for you as well.
Yeah, it was. That's the funny thing about Vegas. It's so small yet so big at the same time. So many things happening, and I just missed you, or this or that. Like it's a tough. Sometimes it's easier to just say like, hey, let's just connect when we get home.
Yeah, right. And you're battling like the cell phone battery draining. Stuff, which is weird, and they had those little things you can plug your phone in, but everyone's on them. There's no extra cord for you. So, and although it's funny, I did find one, and I ended up having a nice conversation with somebody while we were both waiting for our phones to charge a little bit. So there's another way to network. So
I'm a big fan of the portable chargers. So yeah. I have my little portable charger that I take with me whenever especially going to an event like Summer League. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to take that.
Right. Well, the next podcast will be sponsored by one of those portable chargers for sure. So, people might have been watching a little bit on TV. I mean, certainly the TV coverage has been really impressive. They cover, I think, every single game now. They're doing interviews almost as if they saw somebody else do interviews from years ago at Summer League, and these really great one-on-ones and broadcast, put them up right away, and now they're doing them. So, however they got the idea, it's good for them. But it's really impressive, so people can really get a handle on what's happening and who and where. I did a really cool interview with Fran Fraschilla where we talked about, what it really means and how important Summer League production is or not, or the absence of production. So if you haven't seen that, go check it over on our YouTube channel. But Mo, what jumped out in your mind off the top of the bat? Like, which player that you thought maybe like even surprised you the most in Summer League?
Yeah, I think hands down, I think if you ask anybody, everybody's going to kind of say the same name, and it's going to be Wendell Carter Jr. and rightfully so. It's Summer League, so let's preface it that way. I'm sure you had that conversation with Fran for a little bit about just you got to sort of temper your expectations from what you see in Summer League. It's great to see guys succeed, and some guys are going to struggle, but overall, it doesn't have that much of a bearing going forward. But it was great to see Wendell Carter Jr. just kind of really step up. I mean, he looked like the best big out there of those bigs that were all drafted. He was all over the place defensively. He showed he can have some range. He was there at help side and constantly, if he didn't block a shot, he altered it. Was doing a great job rebounding. It was really an impressive all around performance. And I kind of walked away going like, this guy has some shades of Al Horford, but even a better rim protector than him.
Oh yeah, better rebounder too.
Yeah, but just kind of that ability of like, I can do just about everything for a team on the court. He did well switching on to guards. I watched him switch on to Trae Young a few times and was pretty impressed with how he handled that. Yeah. Overall, you're just like, wow, that's if he can bring that to an NBA game, in the regular season and stuff, like this is a great pick for the Bulls. And, it's like I said, he looked like one of the best bigs out there in that were drafted in the top 5, 6, 7, wherever he ended up going.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking through while we're talking about somebody asked me on Twitter on June 22nd what my thoughts were on the Bulls selection of Wendell Carter at number 7. And I quoted that saying, I low-key like him better than Bagley. And remember, this is right after the draft. And all of a sudden, yes, what you described is like a kind of like a revelation. But it was I had seen that as I was going through the footage to prepare for our draft day coverage, was a guy who was like a really good athlete, could shoot the three, was really aggressive on defense. Like, to me, Bagley could be the kind of guy who's like, could fall into that. I mean, I know they're both lefties, so I'm kind of thinking that, but like a Michael Beasley kind of guy, right? Who is awesome in college, has all the ability in the world, but like maybe never kind of comes to fruition. And I don't know why that's kind of, that parallels there, but certainly I don't understand a lot of times when that happens, how a guy like Bagley gets picked, several spots ahead of Carter.
Yeah, it's, I think there was, well, one, it was the Kings. So let's just always preface that, taking him too. I think some of it too was just people felt he's a very athletic young man. He can really do some things. He can shoot it pretty well himself. I'm not a big Bagley fan at all. I have questions of him defensively and sort of a defensive IQ. And I get it. He's 19. He's a young kid. He's going to get some NBA level coaching now. We'll see what it looks like. But there were flashes from him too, where I was encouraged though, and was a little more excited. There were a few times where I saw him rotate over on the weak side, which is something we didn't get to see a lot at Duke because they played zone all year. And part of the reason why they played zone was, the story was that Bagley was so bad defensively. So, I have my concerns about Bagley. I mean, I'm of all the bigs, I have him pretty low as well. In the rankings, I wasn't high on him in the draft, and he didn't really blow me away in summer league. And part of that too was he ended up not playing a lot of it as well. Fair
enough. Well, let's move on to another player that maybe caught your eye that you want to make sure we're all aware of. Who would you say that would be?
The New York Knicks got a lot to be excited about. I know they're very excited about Kevin Knox, but I was really blown away by Mitchell Robinson. Big kid, really has shades of Clint Capella. This kid was blocking everything at the rim. He was rolling hard. He was trying to dunk everything. He doesn't have a jumper or anything like that, but you can just see him as a strong roller to the rim, and he's going to crash the offensive glass. When he gets the ball, he's going to try to dunk it. He's not going to try to do anything finesse with it or anything like that. And at the same time, anybody who came into the lane, they had to deal with him. He was blocking shots. He was pinning them to the backboard. I mean, it was really impressive. I knew nothing about the kid going into the draft, going even into summer league. I immediately was just like, who the hell is this? And,
right.
and just immediately knocked me over. I was just like, wow, this kid's going to be great. And I mean, great. He's going to fit a role perfectly for the Knicks. Shot blocking. He's going to be a guy that can sub in for Porzingis when he comes in healthy, and they can have, a lethal role guy. He's going to help them defensively. You can play him with Porzingis, and they can have a Twin Towers thing going on the defensive end with him trying to block more shots and whatnot. So it was quite a revelation. Knox looked good and got a lot of the headlines because he started out really strong and played well. But for me, it was Mitchell Robinson of the Knicks. I was just like, wow, this kid.
Well, I've heard about him much because he played at Western Kentucky, and he's 7'1" with a 7'4" wingspan. So he's like a really long, going to have to fill out a little bit, but I like the Capella comparison. I guess the question is certainly offensively, skill-wise, there isn't much there yet. And I think Capella was probably the same way. So is that a similar comparison offensively as far as any of that skill? Because, by the way, now Capella can handle the ball, and he can be part of a dribble handoff series, and I know he can't shoot it, but he certainly can handle the ball better. Do you feel like Robinson is on that same trajectory?
I mean, that should be the goal, right? Like when they're in their development program, that should be who he should be watching film on. That should be the guy that they're saying, this is who you need to be able to emulate. You need to develop these skills. The other thing that Capella has gotten better at this year and hopefully will continue to improve is when he catches the roll, hitting the guy in the corner as the weak side comes over to help. Mm-hmm. And that's something that if a big man can do that off the roll, that's a tough pass on the move. I mean, we have guards that have problems making that pass. And for a big guy to be able to make that pass into the corner, as soon as he catches it on the roll, recognize where the defense is and making that corner pass, that opens up everything now. Because now it's, now he's going to have opportunities when he rolls where that defender's not sure if he should go or not. And, if they hesitate, he's going to use his athleticism to dunk. If they come, he's going to make that pass. So I think the trajectory and the goal for the Knicks should be to focus on kind of let's emulate Capella. Let's get him watching Capella film, and you got to help develop him and that stuff. Listen, it's great if he develops a jumper and all of that stuff, and they'll work on it. But it's not. It's for his particular skill set, the stuff I'd really try to focus on and narrow down would be being able to pass out of, rolling situations and then build from there.
Sure. It's funny because it seems like as we're moving forward in the next, 5 years, whatever it's going to be, the Kevin Durant body type, that will be the center. No longer are we going to have Dwight Howard's or, I don't know who else is big these days. I can't even think. Who's like that?
Well, I mean, we just won't see a lot of heavy post-up guys, right? I mean, and that might change too if Joel Embiid comes out and really dominates next season. This is everybody copies everybody, right? So, and even the kids as they're growing up, right? So if we see Joel Embiid really dominate for the next 5 to 10 years from the post, we'll see more teams look for that.
And we all know how more and more teams scour the ends of the earth looking for basketball talent, not just on the court, but in the office as well. This is where ZipRecruiter comes in, and they can help solve all of your hiring problems by visiting ZipRecruiter.com/breakdown. ZipRecruiter sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards, but they don't stop there. With their powerful matching technology, ZipRecruiter scans thousands of resumes to find people with the right experience and invite them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter is so effective that 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. With results like that, it's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the highest rated hiring site in America. And right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/breakdown. That's ZipRecruiter.com/breakdown, ZipRecruiter.com/BREAKDOWN. So what are you waiting for? Check them out.
But I don't know. It feels to me like, and I think that what Kevin Durant is lucky with is that, and I think I said this before, but, 20 years ago, they would have forced Durant to gain another 40 or 50 pounds, would have thrown him down the block. He never would have even gotten a chance to play on the perimeter. So I'm thinking that, the game is evolving very quickly. Now, a Jokic guy, even though he might be sort of bigger and not that athletic, I was watching him work out last week a little bit, and he still isn't really – I'm kind of wondering, will he ever be cut? He just doesn't have a body that's – I don't know if it's the way his diet is or how he trains. But the bottom line is he's got, incredible perimeter skills. So I suppose that even if you kind of get that kind of bicep, it's a little bit bigger, maybe less athletic, but you still have the perimeter skills. That clearly is what we're going to, in theory. Although, again, or we're going to have a whole subset of the Capella people.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting way these things sort of develop over the years and something to watch for. Like you said, we're going to see a lot more 7-foot guys that are going to emulate Kevin Durant growing up, and we're going to see those guys coming out of college and high school and look at them. It's going to be a high standard to reach KD, but we're gonna see some of this stuff, and it's going to be interesting because the whole center position is changed. We had a Western Conference Finals where we had 5-on-5 with no center on the court.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I should do a video on that. I think that was really fascinating. And there's also maybe I even did it. I can't remember. There's a moment I believe in the Celtics-Sixers series, or a few moments where I even think they had centers, but it was all attack on the catch, and it was so dizzying to watch how fast the offenses were moving. It wasn't even like pace. I'm just talking about in the half court. If that's where we're moving towards, then it's just a different game. It's not the same game that we're watching now, or certainly now we watched, in 10 years ago. I was actually looking through some footage of the 08 Celtics to do a video I'm dropping today, and it's just remarkable how it just was weird to watch. And by the way, Paul Pierce, his defensive effort sucked. I just want to say that. I was looking through a lot of Celtics defense and about for ice defense, and I'm like, he just didn't give out, man. I mean, maybe every once in a while against LeBron, but man, and it bothered me then, and it bothers me more now going back. But let's get back. Let's focus back on Summer League. So I actually had a chance to sit through a whole game. I did that I was talking to somebody, but I was watching Mo Bamba versus DeAndre Ayton. It was one of those big ones. They did it in Thomas and Mack. It was really crowded. That's the other thing that was kind of crazy. And a really quick anecdote was there's more VIP seating in the Thomas and Mack Center now than there ever used to be. So I grabbed a chair on the end of an aisle. It looked like it was the row in front of the VIP seating where they had roped it off. And so if I could kind of get in there, I thought it was open. security guard is running over, and he's like, no, you got to move. And like some guy who was sitting 6 or 7 seats in was like, oh, no, it's okay. I had to get like a special dispensation because I think the guy, knew B-ball breakdown and like allowed me to sit there. But it was like, that's why I had to go through just to get a damn seat in this damn place. We're watching.
I'm with you on that though, right? Like Thomas and Mack has gotten really crowded, and they've cordoned off so many seats where I'm like, we want the fans to sit in these seats and enjoy these games here. Like the VIP guys, they have a section already. They don't, it doesn't look good. There's a lot of empty seats when we have fans in the nosebleeds. Sorry, I didn't mean to
I agree. And thank you to DJ of the Mavericks up there who sat next to me. We chatted for a while, but it was like, my savior to let me just have a seat. So, but I'm watching Ayton and Bamba. Here's my first impression of Bamba, because I'd seen him work out a little bit with Drew Hamlin, and he's certainly an impressive specimen, and he has some ability offensively, but he kind of just disappears in my mind. There's a lot of moments where you just don't even know he's out there compared to Ayton, for instance, and I'm wondering if you had that same feeling.
Yeah, I feel like with Bamba, he's still learning the game. I feel like it's just a matter of he doesn't know where he's supposed to be at all times and kind of checks out. And I think that might have been one of the question marks of him going into the draft as well. That's the thing in summer league is you get to see some of these weaknesses and strengths that are highlighted from the draft. We see this right away. The thing is too though is I think he can be a really good player. He's so long. Right. He just stands there and puts a hand up. It's like that alone would be effective. So I'm with you on that. I can kind of see him sort of checking in and out of the game a bit. And he's not as present as you would like him to constantly be.
I agree. That's exactly how I feel about him. And so now, was he a guy that came to basketball late?
I'm not sure. I'll Google that real quick.
Okay. Because when you say that, like he's still learning the game, I kind of just wonder if it was one of those things where he wasn't playing basketball and then all of a sudden he got really long. Because it does feel that way. He definitely lacks like the aggression. And so the question there is can you actually like improve your aggression offensively in the NBA? I'm sure certainly plenty of guys have gotten better with their skill, and then that sort of leads to a little bit more aggression. But I don't know if he's ever going to have that killer mentality, which is probably fine. Like, he could be that guy who's a double-double machine in that Capella mode. I know, they want him to start shooting some jump shots. But I don't know. It's curious to see how that's going to develop. So I'm worried. But now on the flip side, Ayton is a guy, though, who is aggressive. I think who does have that kind of thing. And funnily enough, in the game I saw, there's a question of his motor. But I saw him chase down a guy. It ended up being a foul, I believe, but he chased a guy down from half court who was way out in front, caught him, and then kind of blocked it, maybe a little bit of a foul, fell into the stands. And I think the Phoenix Suns staff their hearts must have fallen out of their chests when they saw that. Because he fell on a hard concrete. But you know what I mean? Is that a fair way of comparing and contrasting Ayton to Bamba?
Well, I had questions of Ayton. I watched him in the Sacramento game, and the thing about it for me when I watched Ayton was like he didn't play with any force. Mm-hmm. There was and let me be fair too. Phoenix did a terrible job with post entries. They couldn't throw the ball into the post for the life of them. It was a joke and quite embarrassing, really. But the thing about it too was he never really held his seals. He never really kind of bodied up in the post and things like that. It was easy. There's one play in particular where Bagley started out behind him and he's standing there like this, and he doesn't seal Bagley off, and all he does is just kind of get around, and now he's fronting him, and now it's a tougher pass. And I just kind of was like, what I would have liked to have seen is him kind of keep him on his butt a little bit, sort of, the phrase, kind of put him in jail and keep him on his back and stuff. I just didn't see that, and that really scares me about Ayton. About you're that big, you got to play with some sort of force and tenacity. Even if it's not posting up, when you're setting screens, you got to make contact, and you got to, you don't want to knock somebody's head off, but you want to make contact. You want to hit them, basically.
Yeah, right.
I'll live with an offensive foul on a screen if you make contact with the guy.
Sure.
I'll deal with it.
And all he has to do is learn. That's like some technique too. I feel like that the backing up screen where you're just your hands are up like, I'm not doing anything, ref. I'm just getting out of the way, but you're like taking the guy out with you on your back. Those are little things that like he can study Draymond and learn. And that's not even that physical. It was funny. I was asking Jeff Stotts, a friend of the Breakdown, Jeff Stotts, who's a guy who studies sports medicine, about if there's ever a study for big guys who are constantly having to set really strong screens. To me, it's like opening them up for more injuries by getting guys running into them all the time. I'm not sure anyone's ever looked at that, but that's a thing. That said, what Igor Kokovsky is doing in Phoenix, he's doing some really cool stuff I had a chance to observe as far as running things out of horns to get post-ups for Ayton. And I'm not surprised that they won't execute it that well, having very few practices and guys who are not going to make the team. But if they get into their training camp and they get the other guys on board with that, there's some really cool stuff they were doing, starting him on the high post and then curling him around a double staggered baseline screens to get the post up, which I don't normally see. Usually you see one cross screen for a guy to post up. He was getting two, and then that turned into some flexing stuff on the weak side. So it was really interesting, clever stuff. So I would hope, you're right, that they'd get an easier catches there.
Right. Yeah, and that's a play, if we're thinking kind of the same way or similar. Minnesota used to run one for Kevin Love called like 44 and 44C, where they would basically set that kind of two back screens to get him into the post. And that was a tough one constantly because it also with Kevin Love's ability to kind of shoot, if you tried to cheat the screen, he would just pop back and have a three.
Yeah.
And things like that. So, there's a lot of fun ways to get guys in the post. I was thinking about it just this morning. I was kind of sad, like the post is kind of slowly disappearing from the game because I always enjoyed finding interesting ways to get a good post up.
Sure. And I don't know did I say it right, Kokoskov? I think I did, but now I'm not sure. Igor Kokoskov, certainly a name we should know as he's coming over to head the Suns. And by the way, the other thing is that the best 3-pointers are the ones when they're passed out from the post.
Yeah.
So that's why it's more important. In fact, you can argue it's easier to get penetration that way. It's almost like penetration to the basket and then kick out. And that's not easy to do sometimes. So getting a good post touchdown there and kicking out is easier and better.
And that's what we're seeing. That was a big part of whenever the Warriors throw the ball in the post. They're not trying to score out. They're not trying to get a bucket in the post. They're trying to score out of it with some action, whether with their post splits, which are we've both done videos on, right, and different cuttings and different movement off of that. And I think that's something we're going to see more of this year, and I think the following year as well, is guys kind of creating in the post. And now whenever Cousins is healthy, I think we're going to see the same thing from the Warriors, kind of using Cousins to really sort of facilitate the offense from there.
For sure. I did a video on it. It was
Yep.
it was great.
One of the keys to getting the ball to the post is the vision it creates for key passes for threes. And it's that kind of vision you can create for yourself by renewing your contact lenses by using Simple Contacts. They let you renew your prescription and reorder your contacts from anywhere in minutes. They have a cool app that will test your vision in less than 5 minutes, then send the results to their licensed ophthalmologists who will review and prescribe the right contact lenses for you. This test only costs $20, which is great since a doctor's visit without insurance could cost you $200. Plus, their lens prices are unbeatable, standard shipping is free, and best of all, I've got an even better deal for you. If you head over to simplecontacts.com/CoachNick20, you'll get $20 off your first Simple Contacts order. That's simplecontacts.com/CoachNick20, or just enter my code CoachNick20 at checkout. This isn't a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam, and they only test that your current prescription still helps you see 20/20 and renew that prescription. They don't write completely new prescriptions or examine eye health. So save $20 by using my code CoachNick20 and make renewing your contact lenses a clearer reality.
Let's take a quick brief interlude to talk about the best ways to create threes. So that's on my mind. We're talking about this, and maybe I'll make a video or something and offer this. But what we have, pick and roll, the short roll, kick to the corner, like you mentioned with Capella, drive and kick, corner lift, when the pick and roll happens and the roll man dives and the weak side corner goes to the wing to hit him, across court pass. You have hammer to the corner. You got post ups, so we just talked about splits and one pass away or skips. Offensive rebounds, another great way to get threes. Yeah. Anything else I'm missing?
No, I mean,
to put you on this complete spot.
Besides like a transition three or or something like that, I don't think you're missing too much out of that. I can't really think.
Right.
You
If
know,
you're going to try and like design an offense, it's like I almost think I go backwards. I'd be like, okay, we want the threes. What are the actions we want from threes? And then from there, you kind of figure out, okay, what are we going to run to get that action, those specific actions. But I
really like the corner lift action you were talking about. You know, this is something we call it shake at some places, and I really love that because that really just puts that defender in such a tough spot. You know, you got to take the roll guy, and now you got to close out, and now further away, and it's a great action and really puts defenses in a difficult situation in rotation. I love those shake or lift actions.
Well, here's what's funny about that. So in Summer League, I ran into Caleb Canales, who is an assistant for the Mavericks, and now he's with with the Knicks as an assistant to Fizdale. And one of the best guys to ever be around for basketball.
Absolutely.
And we had an hour, just me and him in like a conference room. People were peeking their head in and like just kind of walking out slowly because it was on. Like we were full on defending each other. We were like jumping in each other's face. We were doing everything. And I was trying to dissect that bump. So you can picture that when the roll man is going to the basket, the weak side defender, guy in the corner, is supposed to come over and tag or bump the roll man. It's usually a guard. The big man is usually a big man rolling. And I'm wondering, like, what the heck is that really supposed to do? Now, Caleb Canales had a great insight into the fact that, like, it kind of disrupts the lob because you kind of get in the guy's way. But quite honestly, like, what's a 6'2" guy going to do on a 7-footer who's coming down hard? So I'm starting to wonder if we need to, like, rethink how we defend that whole weak side corner action anyway. You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you, and I think depending on the shooter, it's do you go or not go? I think if it's a guy who you're like, I'll live with that guy shooting that three, then yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll tell my guards to bump. But if it's a guy you don't want to shoot, I think it's just, hey, look, you two guys in the pick and roll better do a damn good job. High hands, having everything ready, discourage the lob, and big guy, you got to get back, depending what the coverage is. And I would just tell the weak side corner, don't let him get a three, because nowadays, you know, everybody's trying to get that three ball. That's the shot they want. Mm-hmm. You want to kind of take that away. Maybe even just stun at the bump and make the guard think you're bumping, and then just go with the shooter. Might be something I would look at. But I think it also depends on who's lifting, right? If I'm lifting, leave me alone. You're fine. Go ahead and go to the roll guy. You know, if Clay's lifting, yeah, you better go with Clay.
I haven't seen you shoot. I'm assuming that you can knock a couple of those down. No,
I can not listen. I'm a game time player. Games on the line. I can knock them out on game time. But you know, it's you got
to prove it first.
It's shaky. You gotta let me let me prove it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think we're going to end up getting that point where, I mean, because that said, most teams are probably ideally going to have the four guys on the floor that can really, you can't leave alone. But in reality, it seems like there's always that one or two people that you're going to say, thank you. Like, I'm not going to close out. Please shoot that. And if you hit 5 or 6 of those and we lose, like, I'll tip my cap to you. Right. So you're right. That's another good point about the tag or the bump, is that simply, you know, there are shooters that you don't care about. You can leave them alone and get in the way of other stuff. So, good point. We'll ask you about this up. Oh, yes, go ahead. Let
me ask you this question about Caleb. Was he wearing a long sleeve T-shirt?
Yeah, probably.
He never wears anything other than a long sleeve T-shirt. I bumped into him in Vegas several years ago, and it was thousands of degrees outside as it is during the summertime. Yeah. And he was wearing a long sleeve shirt and a shirt over. And I looked at him. I'm like, man, you're not cooking inside there. It's just Caleb's thing.
He's great, and I love his story too. And if you ever around him, he's infectious. It's really amazing. Yeah. So, well, let's wrap this up with like one last spotlight of one quick player quickly we can talk about that really caught your eye.
Well, I want to bring up the question we had on Twitter, the Gil Alexander from the Clippers. I like him. I think he's a tough guard. Listen, he's going to struggle shooting. He's shot about 25% from three, and that's something that they're going to have to work on. This is going to be a big test for the Clippers in the sense of they don't really develop that much. We don't have a lot of great development stories from them, you know, and he's going to be behind Beverly, and now Teodosic is going to be there. Like, he's got to fight for minutes, and they want to be competitive. So it's going to be a big test of how they develop this young man. But he's got a lot of good tools. He's long as hell. He's got a good defensive tenacity about him. He can get to the rim. He's lightning quick, which is pretty impressive, because a lot of teams are going to hang back on him defensively in the regular season. And that's the other thing. In Summer League, you don't really pay attention to the scouting reports as much as teams will in the regular season. So that might be something that goes away come regular season for him. But I think this is a kid. He's a great pick for them, but they got to develop him, and they got to really work on that shot and get him more consistent with that. Because if he does that, he's quick enough. He'll get to the rim and finish, and he'll find guys, when he drives to the rim, he'll find the cutters, he'll find the guys at the dunker spot and things like that. I think he's a great pick for them in the future, but it's going to be a lot of eyes on their development team right now for how well he does and how well he develops. I like him. I think he's got a lot of upside for them.
Sure. And probably another in the long line of Kentucky players that really don't know how to play coming out, like all the world talent, but maybe needs a lot more seasoning. But eventually we see all those guys really develop nicely. But again, it will be an interesting test for the Clippers specifically to see if they can get out of that. I know Tyrone Wallace from last year came on the show and was sort of in that same mold, not as quick, not as much of an athlete as him, but had a lot of success playing for the Clippers in that 6'6" guard role. And so I'm wondering to see if they're going to plug him into that spot and or not either, or get him some stuff. The pick and roll, he's actually pretty good at that, I would think, right?
Yeah, he's pretty good at the pick and roll and navigating through it. He has a nice little crossback or snake dribble out of it, and kind of getting back to the other side of the defender and then getting to the rim and things like that. He's got a nice game. There's got to be a lot more polish to it. Got to kind of clean up some things there. I think defensively he's going to be really good. He's just long. And the thing is, he's going to get tutored by Patrick Beverly, another Bulldog out there. And ball hawk defensively. So this is going to be a good situation for him. I expect to see him kind of even become more aggressive defensively. His offensive game needs to kind of come fully around. It's going to be hard as a guard if you can't shoot.
Right.
And like we talked about, teams are going to leave you. He would be a guy, if he's lifting, I'm not going to worry about,
Right. All right. Well, awesome stuff. Thank you for breaking all that down. Always great to hang out with you a little bit, even if it's virtually. But we'll have to make sure we do it in LA soon before it gets too late in the summer. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on, Mo. And everyone else, make sure you follow him. Tell us where we follow you on Twitter, Mo.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Mo Dakhil _NBA. So MODAKHIL _NBA. And you can go to thejumppball.net and see what I'm up to.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for coming on again. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Mo?
I'm always in.